Welcome to Rathalos Watch. This is the 25th episode of Shoot X Monster Return to Monster Hunter Wilds. In this episode, I will be discussing the one and only owl monster Malfestio from Monster Hunter Generations. As always, we'll delve into the monster in greater detail, covering its first appearance, overall reception, memorable aspects, visual design, combat style, and ultimately, whether it should return to Monster Hunter Wilds. We'll explore how Capcom could potentially bring back the monster, what they should or shouldn't change, what new interactions they could implement, and how the monster could fit into the next generation of Monster Hunter in terms of mechanics and design philosophies. If you've been enjoying this series or want more hardcore coverage of Monster Hunter Wilds, then don't forget to subscribe, and also feel free to join our Discord and speculate about Monster Hunter Wilds with passionate fellow hunters. Link is in a pinned comment. Without further ado, let's begin. Malfestio is classified as a bird viverine and was first introduced in the 4th generation of Monster Hunter in Monster Hunter Generations when it came out in Japan under the name Monster Hunter X on November 28th in 2015 for the 3DS. It then later came out internationally in July 2016. The gene rank expansion Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate then came out for Nintendo 3DS on March 2017 and then was later released for the Nintendo Switch in August of that same year. Both of these titles featured Malfestio along with his deviant variant that we will cover later in the video. Malfestio was the final name for this monster. However, other English names that were proposed included Nochios, Strikua, and Sonotos. In my opinion though, I think Malfestio sounds way better than any of those names. He was also voted top 102nd place in the Hunter's Choice for top monster during Monster Hunter's 20th anniversary. Similar to Nargacuga, Malfestio is a nocturnal predator that prefers to sleep in the trees to avoid terrestrial predators. Malfestio can be first encountered in a 4-star village quest called the Nocturnal Enchanter in the Jurassic Frontier locale. He may also appear in the Deserted Isles and the Primal Forest. This monster can range from the smallest gull crown size of 305.83 centimeters to the largest gull crown size of 758.46 centimeters. Hunters may break its head once, right wing, left wing, and the tail. So what makes this bird viverine so memorable? Well, quite a few things, and I would argue that the most memorable aspect about Malfestio is that he is the only monster that is modeled after an owl. There are very few games to begin with that base their monsters on owls, so it's quite a rare occasion to see a whole monster dedicated to such a being. On top of that, Malfestio only appeared in Monster Hunter Generations and Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, and he never ever made an appearance anywhere else as far as mainline titles go. Those who started in Monster Hunter Generations will mostly likely remember Malfestio. For a lot of people, he is deemed underrated and underused, and I would have to agree with both of those sentiments. He also has a mechanic that no other monster ever had. Not only can Malfestio put you to sleep, but he can also put a spell on you and confuse the hunter. When the hunter is confused, the analog sticks switch directions, so now you're working to the right instead of the left, and vice versa. Some people found this quite annoying, but after a few fights you can get used to it and still deal a significant amount of damage if you have a good muscle memory. I kind of like this mechanic. It's just unique and unusual. Last but not least, Malfestio's visual design is also quite memorable. So speaking of that, let's discuss his appearance and then proceed talking about his combat style. Malfestio resembles an owl, with its body covered in blue feathers and a grayish underbelly. It has a yellow color and a white face with piercing red eyes and a small beak. The creature sports long tufts on its head, tipped with yellow pointing backward. Its legs highlighted with traces of yellow, and in scaly feet with 2 talons and a small vestigial toe. The wings are notable for their bright blue membranes and long blade-like claws running along them. Its flanned tail ends in a 3-pronged shape. Similar to real owls, Malfestio can rotate its head to see directly behind itself. Overall, I think he's a dope-looking owl, and I love his colors. Owls are mysterious creatures to begin with, and I believe Capcom did a good job at giving him that extra flair of mystery with his visual design. Now it's time we talk about the way Malfestio operates when it comes to combat. For the most part, his kit is not that complex, and being the owl that he is, he doesn't have a large arsenal of attacks. However, he does use his yellow scales to disorient both prey and the hunter, which is what I was talking about earlier. This is probably his signature attack, and it's also most likely the deadliest one, since it can invert your controls and make you vulnerable to a lot of damage. Either you get used to the controls and quickly adapt with your muscle memory, or you just run away and wait till the confusion state goes away before re-engaging Malfestio. Once Malfestio is enraged, however, his claws along its wings are revealed, and it will start using them as weapons. He also has his occasional little tail whip that rather has a small hitbox and is quite easy to avoid. Generally speaking, he is not a difficult monster. I kind of wish he had a bit more to his arsenal if you ask me, but the potential is there. And yes, he does have a deviant known as Nightcloak Malfestio, who has made an appearance in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. In terms of visual differences, Nightcloak Malfestio features golden scales on its chest and along the edges of its wings, with striking red webbing and tail feathers. The tail feathers are a dark purple and form a four-pointed, claw-like shape, adding to its menacing appearance. His Clouds of Confusion scales are also larger, meaning that you have less room to avoid them. On top of that, Nightcloak Malfestio can also go invisible, similarly to Lucent Nargacuga or Chameleos, and he is also a thief that can steal items from hunters, just like Gypsyros would when he hits you. Well, it has a chance of stealing items. Due to Nightcloak Malfestio's increased aggression and danger, hunters need special permission to take on the monster. As a result, you won't be able to hunt it until much later in the game. Now that we've covered both Malfestio and Nightcloak Malfestio, we have to ask ourselves if he is worthy of making a return to Monster Hunter Wilds. The answer to that question is a resounding yes, in my opinion, for quite a few reasons. First of all, he is a very underused monster. He only appeared in 2 games in 1 generation and never made a return ever again for the last 6 years or so. Second reason is that he is the only bird wyvern that resembles an owl, which is extremely rare. It makes him really unique and diversifies the overall roster if he was to be included in Monster Hunter Wilds. After seeing more of the Scarlet Forest gameplay, I came to a realization that Malfestio would really fit well into it, and on top of that, he would make a great addition to the whole ecology system of Monster Hunter Wilds by only appearing at night, since he is an owl and owls are nocturnal creatures by nature. I think his whole confusion mechanic should also be kept. It would be fun to watch and see it being used on smaller monsters in the middle of the night when he goes out hunting for food. Imagine Malfestio confusing a Gyros or a poor Dalthodon and then having him for dinner. Or perhaps he would only hunt the smaller endemic life, but you get the idea. As an owl, he would also fit as a grounded monster who is based on a real creature. I believe his overall aesthetic and style does fit the look and feel of Monster Hunter Wilds as well. I'm not sure if it's necessary for Nightcloak Malfestio to make a comeback, but perhaps in a title update it will be fine, or the Generic expansion. My only gripe with Malfestio is that I believe he is a bit too easy for a 4-star monster. I think he could use some additional new attacks on top of what he already has. He is not a difficult monster to slay in my opinion, and his confusion mechanic is also avoidable at all times when you know it's coming up. There is a quest in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate where you can hunt 2 of them at the same time, and even that was not very challenging when they were both fighting me in the same zone in the deserted isle. I enjoyed the quest, but like I said, he needs a big buff. In a nutshell, I believe it would be very fair for Malfestio to finally make a return after missing for such a long time and essentially skipping an entire generation that spanned across 4 different releases. I hope Capcom has him already planned in some shape or form. I don't care if he makes it into the base game, title update, or G-Rank expansion. As long as he makes it somehow into Monster Hunter Wilds, I'll be a happy Malfestio fan. Do you fellow hunters believe that Malfestio is a good fit and deserves to return to Monster Hunter Wilds? Or would you rather see something completely fresh and new? How do you see him interacting with other monsters? Let me know your thoughts in the comments and tell me which monsters you'd like me to cover in future episodes. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit like and subscribe with notifications turned on. Peace out and happy